We are still right at 3 o'clock, so we will get our meeting underway. And we're recorded today, not audio, or not video, only audio? Video. We do have video. Oh, okay, so we are video recorded and for the government channel. All right, we're 3:01, and I call to order the Human Rights Commission meeting of the City of Palm Springs for Monday, November 18, 2019. To start us off, could we have the mission statement, item 2? Who read it last time? I think. Oh, you did? Okay. Go ahead.
I'll read it. The mission of the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission is to promote and protect the diversity of our community and to improve human relations through education and community awareness.
Excellent, thank you. And Jay, do we have a quorum present?
We have a quorum. Would you like me to read roll call?
Sure.
Absolutely. Commissioner Ames,
Present.
Commissioner Andrade,
Present.
Commissioner Flood,
Here.
Vice Chair Chappelle,
Here.
Chair DeHart.
Present.
Very good. We have quorum.
Excellent. Any public comment cards? Is anybody speaking today? No? Okay. So do I still have to read number 4 when we don't have speakers? Do we still?
I think it's safe.
Okay, all right. So any person who wishes to speak on a topic within the city's jurisdiction during this portion of the agenda must file a speaker card with a staff liaison before that portion of the agenda is called. Although the commission values all comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Commissioners will not enter into discussion with speakers, but during commission comments may refer the matter to staff for report and recommendation at a future commission meeting. And no cards have been submitted, so we will move on to item 5, the approval of minutes from July 8 and September 19 that have been included in the packet and sent out previously. Any comments on either set of minutes? July 8 or September 9? If we have none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented for both July 8 and September 9. And second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved and accepted. Moving on to item 6, Commissioner and staff comments. We'll start with Commissioner Flood on the other side.
I have nothing at this time.
Coming around the table.
I have nothing at this time.
No, thank you.
Mission walked in the Pride Parade and the Veterans Day Parade, and had a great time, and so we found how to get our pole together so it doesn't come apart. So it was great.
Excellent, that was a success. And yes, I just wanted to reiterate appreciation for everybody who did march in both of those parades. It is great exposure and community outreach for the commission, so thank you for doing that.
Mr. Chair, you may have noticed there's some work going on right outside the door here. We've been informed that that work will resume at 5 p.m. So depending on where we're at with this meeting, we may encounter some additional sounds from the outside.
Okay, nothing we can't deal with. And is our speaker?
Is Marquez Equilibria in the audience anywhere? Our speaker is not here.
Okay. All right, we will skip item 7 for now and move on to item 8, items for discussion. So committee updates. Do we, no executive committee, we didn't have executive committee meeting this month. We will certainly get together before the December meeting. And Commissioner Andrade, in your absence, you were appointed to the quarter,
you.
the quarter term for the rotating position. So thank you for serving on that for the next quarter. Anything on community development mediation? I guess that would include our calendar. Any calendar activities, anything new coming up that we need to be aware of?
Did we get a new calendar printed, or?
No, and I think that that's part of what we have to talk about when we meet as a group is who's going to take over which components that don't have don't have commissioners on them at this time.
Okay. So, community relations and finance, updates from either one of those areas?
No.
Youth education, student rep.
We have had a kiddo who has expressed interest, but isn't out of her day until 3 o'clock. So that is the only possible applicant that we have at this point.
Okay. Seniors, veteran affairs, persons with disabilities, any representation, any meeting attendance?
Well, the part of that I've been working on is the veterans through the American Legion post here in Palm Springs. So I don't have anything specific to say at this point. I just want to say that I will be working with them. The other aspects of that, I have nothing. Regarding the senior and persons with disabilities, I have nothing on that.
And there is a big day coming up in January for school-age kiddos who have intellectually and orthopedic impairments, and I will bring that to the commission.
Okay.
Okay?
Let's see, going back to calendar, don't we have Human Rights Day recognition in December isn't that something that we're supposed to be working or acknowledging for December? On the calendar of months of recognition that we voted on?
Yes, I think so. The question I asked earlier about whether we've had a new calendar produced, my understanding was that that the city produced that for us, that calendar, and I had asked Dale before he left if he could get that for us, and so our current calendar that we were issued expired, I believe, in June. So, yeah, that we don't have any of our new things that we've passed or talked about on a calendar yet.
With the commissioners who left us, there are tasks and positions and jobs that we still have to
Correct.
assign and
Fill.
start our work now.
But Commissioner Andrade was on
Right.
the community events with Commissioner Michio.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay, so Jay, the calendar, It has been a topic of conversation for a number of meetings, and Dale is the one who would update it on an ongoing basis, so I'm not sure if maybe Annie has access.
She does. We'll go into his files and get an
Okay, okay. Okay, so that, we're moving very quickly. Any other items from committees that need to be discussed today? If none, then we move on to item B, topical newsworthy items. Any topical newsworthy items that folks would like to report today?
No, we could talk about
Commissioner Randolph?
film.
Sorry, I would like to talk about our legacy
Yes, go
film.
ahead. We've-
Sorry. I missed my section of where I'm supposed to talk about that. So, our subcommittee has been very busy at work, along with some community members of the community, and meeting with people from the Desert Highlands community. And I think we've made really, really good progress, and Terry's going to talk to you a little bit about that. And I see one of our community members is here today as well, Donald Morgan. So I just want to say that we have a date set for Friday, February 7th. It'll be at the Palm Springs Cultural Center. And we got to decide on time, but the format this year will be a little bit different than last year. We want to have in the parking lot that will be free to anyone to come, some type of community entertainment. It's been brought to my attention that there's a drill team at Desert Highlands, so perhaps we could engage their services. And then we will have the VIP party upstairs like we had last year, then the film. Then we're going to add a Q&A afterwards. I think that was lacking last year. So that'll be the format. And so we're ready, once we decide on an issue, which hopefully we'll be able to do that today, then I'm ready to move to the next steps, which is to get all these other people who volunteered to help out to start getting publicity ready, ticket sales ready, the VIP party ready. There's many little components, but I have tons of people who are willing to help.
I love it.
So that's the update on our legacy film project. And Terry, do you want to tell them what we've done so far?
I do. I'm going to pass this out for you.
Thank you.
That one is yours. As Nikki said, as Nikki mentioned, the subcommittee has spent the last couple of months meeting with and soliciting input from the Desert Highlands Gateway Estates community for the purpose of identifying a human rights concern that was shared commonly by the neighborhood. You'll recall that, I think, our last meeting, perhaps the one prior to that, you agreed that Desert Highlands community was a good partner for us to proceed with this, so that's what we have been doing. Just to remind you, Desert Highlands Gateway Estates is a minority-majority community. It's a predominantly low-income with longtime multi-generational families and residents with cultural and economic and socially similar lifestyles, and they're intent on improving the quality of life for everyone, especially their young people. So we reached out to the staff and the leadership, as you see on your handout, of the James O. Jesse Center, the Neighborhood Council, the Palm Springs Police Department, who have an assigned officer in the area, and to 3 of the anchor churches that serve the community. The questions we asked were as followed. I wanted to give you in red what we essentially boiled our interviews down to, and we asked people to describe an area of concern that they'd witnessed or been affected by in their community. We asked in their opinion what caused the concern, allowed it or caused it to continue or escalate. And then we also asked if they had any ideas on how those concerns or that concern might be more effectively addressed, reduced, or eliminated. So those were the questions that we presented to the community at large. The responses that we received, we narrowed down to 3 major concerns, and we present them to you here in order of their priority. So I'd like you to just take a look at what they were or are. An unfair and disproportionate approval of cannabis manufacturing and cultivation, all levels and all types of processing, currently existing in the pipeline and potentially likely due to zoning and commercial laws in the proximity. We know that the city is working on making some changes, has already made some changes, but for this particular community, that this really was the first item on their list with everybody that we spoke with or responded to our questions. The second was over-policing and disparate treatment of previous offenders. There's a lot of people that are on parole or probation in that community. I think we've talked about it at this meeting before. So they're concerned that there is a little over-policing with a high level of enforcement and lower levels of accountability. And thirdly, the deteriorating infrastructure and decline of property values due to the community being overlooked for redevelopment or economic improvement projects. They don't have a grocery store, their transportation is limited. And again, in some ways, I think it does loop back to number one, where their zoning might not be the best for that kind of help. So those are the three things that we heard over and over and over from the community. We wanted to bring them to you, and we had discussed as a committee that we thought that the number one issue should be the choice that we go with for our film. So we bring that to you, I suppose, not so much for approval as just information, that's the issue that they would like us to shine a light on, if you will. We know that we can't resolve it, maybe won't even have any effect other than to raise a little bit of money for their children to get some sports equipment or something of that nature.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Terry just said. So for those of you here, were here last year, we partnered with the LGBT community, and we already had a documentary film in mind, and I already had permission to show it. So it kind of went that direction. Oh, we have the film, who should we partner? Who's the correct community partner to have? So it went that way. This year, it's the opposite way. We've approached the community, we've identified some issues. So my next step will be to search for whatever issue that we move forward with, search for an appropriate film. Now again, and we made it very clear in every meeting that we were at, we're not here to solve these problems. We're here to create an environment that will shine a spotlight on the issue and hopefully start a dialogue about that issue in the community and with the city and the police and anyone else. So it's an event, and it's going to be treated that way. So, we don't know what the film's going to be yet, but I will find an appropriate one. I'm working with the Palm Springs International Film Festival, so between us, I think we can find something appropriate. Should we discuss this, Ron, the topics?
No, I think from the committee's recommendation, unless there's disagreement from other commissioners, I think you're empowered to move forward and find a topical film that fits that category. You might want to reach out to the two frequent speakers that we've had here talking about air quality. They may have. Are you already talking to them?
No.
No, you're talking about the ones that did the tobacco initiative?
Yeah, but and the health and breathing, and so
Right.
they're very involved in that. So they may have their finger on the pulse of something, of a film topic that may be focused on the health aspects already. But they would be a good resource just to touch base with, regardless of whether they had a cannabis specific health, topic related subject.
And I know you have a very busy life, Ron, so I don't know if everyone else is aware that the odor from the growing and cultivation of cannabis is a very big issue in front of City Council right now. So it's very current and topical. Now, for the Desert Highlands community, the ship has somewhat already sailed because there's an industrial area right next to where their homes are, and there's already growing and manufacturing facilities there. And at the last city council meeting, Councilman Middleton said that she was at a Desert Highland meeting, and that was a big topic they were talking about over and over and over again. So afterwards, she got in her car, she drove around, and she definitely said she could smell the odor. So if it can happen to them, it can happen to everyone else. The other point is, why are these things happening near Desert Highlands or Demuth Park? It just needs, the issue needs to be addressed. So City Council is working on it, but it's an issue, and the question is, what's going to be done about it? Maybe we can start a dialogue about that.
So the one thing that I think an actionable item is, you could draft a summary of what you just presented and the conversations within the community, and that I would include the 3 core topics that were floated to the top, and point out that the first topic is the one that is the commission is pursuing to raise awareness in the community. If you send me that email, just summarize what you just presented, then we will get it to City Council to reinforce what we've been told from the community. Just so they have one more level of awareness that this is something that we're addressing also.
Well, we have copious notes from our meetings. Mr. Morgan, Terry, and I were either all 3 of us, or at least 2 of us, were at every single meeting. I just want to protect the identity of the individuals that we
Sure.
talk to. I don't think it's necessary to bring up their name, but they were certainly strong, visible members of the community. As far as, the James O. Jesse Center, I think, that's okay because
Sure.
they're,
Just a summary of what you just presented to the commission today.
Would this serve, Ron? I mean, I spent some time doing exactly what you're talking about, and
You spoke of more
Answers.
background than what's on paper. So if we have a paragraph that has a little more background, then that would be good for council to be aware that this is,
yeah,
this is
I
what
can do that.
okay. Yeah, and if you can, everything's timely, so if you can get that to me this week, then we'll get it over on behalf of the full commission to council.
okay.
Okay? So I think that's great. So
Thank you.
thank you for having those conversations.
So we do need to continue because February 7th is just around the corner. So are we okay to continue to move forward with this? Or are you saying we need to submit it to someone and?
No, you got your marching
Okay,
orders
all
months
right.
ago.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah, there's no holding, there's no stopping you now.
right.
All right. Okay, did we get everybody else? Nothing else that we needed to get? You're covered? You're good?
I'm covered.
Okay, so other topical newsworthy items, I'd just like to point out that the Transgender Day of Remembrance is this Wednesday here at City Hall in the parking lot. Vigil starts at 5 p.m. Everybody is welcome to attend and be a participant in that event to raise awareness of the atrocities committed against the transgender community, across the country. No, it's a free event for the community. So that's here at City Hall on the 20th. And I think that was the only other item I had for newsworthy items. Jay is not here, so we will get him when he comes back in. And thanking staff for the name badges. So Commissioner Andrade and Commissioner Randolph, we
Thank you. Thank you. We're official now.
You're official, and
Did you get one, Harold?
special thanks to Jay and Annie for making that happen this last month. So we've got that, and we're good to go.
Can I add my own E to the end of my name?
May I make a comment when we're in the comment section here?
Yep.
I just wanted to welcome Harold to our commission. I had the pleasure of meeting him and his wife the other day, and he has expressed an interest to join Terry and I on, I thought it was called the Marketing Committee, but I don't see anything there. What are we, the Community Relations Budget Meeting now? Okay, so if you'd like to officially join that, Harold, we welcome you.
Yes, I would appreciate that and very much so interested.
Okay, so we should add him
There you
to our
go.
group.
Beautiful. Will do. Okay, next up, action items. So coming in your packet, you've got a copy of the application. Yes, the application and overview for the Community Service Awards. This process gets underway normally at this time of year. We get the word out within the community through the city's information officer, and press releases issued to inform the community that individuals can nominate folks for recognition, for folks that have been involved with or should be recognized for promoting universal human rights here in the city of Palm Springs and the greater region of Palm Springs. So the background is here. I encourage the commission to help get the word out. If you feel that there's folks that you would like to nominate, feel free to do so. The application can be sent directly to Dale's email address, and he will collect them. And then our subcommittee will meet sometime in early December prior to our next meeting. So between that December meeting and the January meeting, the full commission will get a slate of suggested nominees for approval. Then we will notify the honorees for the February presentation. So these awards are all presented at the February meeting, and my calendar doesn't go that far to what our date is in February. So for the new commissioners, this is an ongoing process that the city has done for 26 or 27 years, I think, something like that, where citizen folks in the community are recognized for their service, and this is our opportunity to be able to do that on behalf of the commission and the city of Palm Springs. And we usually get several dozen suggestions to go through. So feel free to think hard about it and submit names. Vice Chair Chappelle and myself are on that committee, and Commissioner Gross was on since he has served off. We have an opening if anybody else would like to be a part of that subcommittee. We typically meet really just one time to review each of the applications. Is there any interest on anybody?
No, but I'd like to say that it's one of the stellar things that I think our commission does. So for those of you who weren't here last year, were you here, Glenn? No. Yeah, it's a really wonderful event and a chance to reach out in the community and honor people who have done things in the community. I'm not surprised it's been around for 26 years. It's really a wonderful event.
Okay, so we will move forward on that. Jay, I just talked that is there any questions on this? It's the standard form. Nothing has changed from last year other than the dates have been updated for this year's activity. So if there's no opposition, we will give staff a
And
go-ahead
this
to
is
get this
available
out.
online on our page.
it will be
Okay, great.
as soon as everybody says thumbs up. So if there's no opposition, we will get this out, and it will get posted online. Since you're on the subcommittee, I'll entertain a motion from Vice Chair Chappell to accept the application as presented. Second by,
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any other discussion on the item? Sweet, so.
Can I just ask one question, please?
Yes.
The previous awardees, that's going to be on the website as well, because I know that was helpful last year when we got a list of people that have
And
received them in the past.
It is listed, and I thank you for the reminder. So Jay, we just need to make sure that the 2019 people are on that, added to that list. But that list goes back years and years.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
excellent.
Charity Hardy, I'd like to express an interest on the subcommittee if nobody else wants to move
See
forward.
what
with it.
happens when you speak up? You're appointed now, so thank you. There's no expression of interest needed. You're done. Okay, the last item I had is just informational item, and then we will move into hopefully adding it to an agenda item for next week. One of the Palm Springs Unified School District teachers has been speaking out and actually submitted a letter to a newspaper, and it was printed recently. You may have been aware or heard about it, but the teacher's talking about how, as a teacher in Palm Springs Unified, he is being bullied as a teacher for being a gay teacher in our district. So I think the concern that's been raised to the commission now is what is the Palm Springs Unified School District doing to ensure that the Fair Education Act, SES Law, and the School Success and Opportunity Act, which are three policy and laws that are in place in the state of California, are in place, and that the programs and policy is enforced within the school district. And there's some concern as to how the school district is enforcing that, and how can we get a teacher and other teachers that are supporting this individual to be having this feeling that they can't be out. They're actually told that they can't say that they're LGBT, which is just wrong. It's against the law. So I would like to add the topic to the agenda, and maybe we invite somebody from the school district who can just share with us what is the school district's policy for enforcing these three specific acts within the state of California. Is there support that we invite a speaker from the school board? We haven't had a school board representative come and share with us in the past.
I just think that perhaps people from both sides, would that be appropriate? Like, for example, when we were doing the Desert Highland surveys and they brought up the over-policing issue, Mr. Morgan and I went and met with Officer Torres, who's assigned to their neighborhood, to get his side of the story. Well, what is it? And it turned out to be a very good conversation. We were kind of the intermediary, but in fact that, they are open to, doing some things to improve the relationships in the community. It was very helpful to hear from both sides.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe my suggestion would be let's start with the school board, and then the teacher won't come forward. The teacher is remaining anonymous, but we could certainly reach out to the union rep that could come and speak on behalf of teachers that are impacted this way. But maybe we can we could extend the invitation to the school board representative first, and then we could follow up with somebody from the appropriate union that would include this particular school. Okay, excellent. Well, that's what we will do.
I have a question about
Yes.
that, if I may. I'm hearing this for the first time. I wasn't aware of the issue that you're talking about. Is the accusation that the teacher is being bullied from higher up, or I'm not sure where the bullying is coming from, at what level?
From administration.
Administration. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And it's not a secret cultural issue. So
Right.
that's why I think bringing it into the front and having a conversation, it's a good thing for us to have that conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back. We'll go in reverse here, back to item 7, and our guest speaker, who we have with us today from the U.S. Department of Justice, the Community Relations Service. So, a conciliation specialist, Marquez Equilibria. Please feel free to come up and to speak. You hit the button on that microphone on the base there, and the little ring will turn green on the bottom of it. Welcome for being with us today. Thank you for taking the time to come and present. Okay, so when you are ready to start, feel free. We've got a 10-minute presentation.
So does it stay on if I push?
Yeah, just hit it, and you're good to go. There you go.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for allowing me to present and share with you a little bit about the Community Relations Service. We are a part of the U.S. Department of Justice, one of the smaller agencies, and we've been around since 1964, and we are a conflict resolution agency, no law enforcement powers. What we do is we assist communities with conflict that have elements of tensions based on race, color, national origin, gender identity, sexual orientation, religion, and disabilities. So we deal with community conflicts, not individual conflicts. And we do not have law enforcement powers, which means that we don't investigate cases, we don't assign blame, we don't make arrests or prosecute anybody. And the community contacts that we have, the conversations that we have are confidential. We do not charge, we're free, your tax dollars have already paid for us. And the services come through 4 areas. One of them is facilitation. We facilitate dialogues and also help design them, help design processes to problem solve. 2, we mediate, so we're mediators. 3, we educate and train. A lot of our trainings are for law enforcement. And 4, provide technical assistance and consultation. So a police chief could call us up and, hey, I have a situation. Can you give me your thoughts here? What would you do? And sure, and that can be it. So, and it's great that I caught a little bit about the over-policing topic. That's very much one of the areas that we work on is police community relations. So we work with all institutions, law enforcement being one of our biggest customers. We work with schools, colleges, universities, tribes, commissions, and community groups as well, advocacy groups. We pretty much work with anybody who is a group who comes to us saying, hey, you know, I'm concerned about the tensions here, community tensions, and it doesn't have to be real. Again, we're not here to investigate, but if there are the perceptions that there's a concern over safety, over, you know, respect, over issues of inclusion, you know, we'll work with those communities. We also work on issues of hate crimes and hate incidents. So we might work with communities and help them respond in response to some kind of issue, either say in the schools or, you know, out in the community. So a lot of our programs might deal with, say, educating law enforcement and helping them interact with specific groups. One of our trainings is helping them build relationships with the transgender community. One of them might be with the Muslim and Sikh community. We also have have other programs where we work in the schools and offer students the opportunity to problem solve when there are human relation issues on a campus. Say they could be bullying, they could be racial tensions on a school campus, and we ask them basically what those issues are, and then in the second phase of it, we ask them to propose solutions to those problems. And so there's a planning group that goes with that, as well as an implementation council that goes with that parallel, so that when students do propose ways to resolve those issues, they can, be a part of that. And of course, we talk to the administrative leaders to also address any issues, say with staff or, with the leadership, so that there's sort of a balance. But in that particular program, just to focus a little bit more on the students. So we've been around for over 50 years, and I'm here because I did see an article not so long ago about the swastika in front of a law office, and I've actually just come from the Jewish Federation of the Desert and talked to them and shared with them what we do. And we haven't been here for about 8 years. The last time I was here was in this very room doing a 101. So just to reintroduce you to the services that we have to offer. So if you're interested in getting community input to resolve issues, tensions out in the community, whether it be from gentrification, changes in demographics, or the police, law enforcement, those are areas where we can help you, since we respond to critical incidents and protests and demonstrations. So we're quite familiar with some of the issues that happen in communities, so we can help you design questions, help you design the mechanism through which you interface with the community to get dialogue, get input. We have these little clickers where we ask people different questions, like, have you ever been stopped by the police? They can answer anonymously with the clicker, and you can see in real time what the response is. So we can help you design those kinds of dialogues or engagements. And if you want to go into the schools, if you want to explore something with the superintendent or with a school system, we can help you so that you all can be sort of like the ones who take the lead and help you sort of design it behind the scenes, or, obviously or officially. But we can help you with the conflict resolution piece of it, to design it, the questions. We can also train additional facilitators so that you can do small breakout groups and use people from the community that have basics and facilitation skills after we do a little mini class with them and practice conflict resolution skills with them, so that they can do the job on the day of. So that's it in a nutshell. Your folders have a few handouts that relate to individual programs that we have, and the annual report is included as well, so you can kind of get snippets of a few things that we've done in different parts of the country. Working with human relation commissions, human rights commissions has been kind of a part of it, and part of our history, since we provide a lot of capacity building. In the past, we've even done sort of like scenarios. Okay, here's what happened in your city. What would you do? And we kind of help guide you to give you ideas. Or if something has happened, we can, discuss that as well. Any questions?
So you're in the U.S. Justice Office that's housed in L.A.?
Yes, we're based out of Los Angeles.
So, and your territory covers, what's the territory?
It covers San Luis Obispo all the way down to San Diego to Las Vegas, Southern Nevada, and all of Arizona. And we have one more person in San Francisco, and they cover the rest of California, Reno, and Guam, and Hawaii. So our agency is small. When I say small, people like myself, conciliators, there's only 15 of us across the country total.
And
so
how many
in the LA office?
in this district?
Yeah, 2. And the regional director is also housed in LA. And we're kind of a part of a mega region, which there's another regional office in Colorado, and that covers sort of those states out there. And then he also oversees the Northwest region, which covers Oregon, Washington, and Alaska as well. So when we need to, move staff to kind of help support a program that we might be implementing, we can borrow staff from other locations, and we help each other out when we need it.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Statement first probably. One of the functions of this Human Rights Commission is spelled out in ordinance is to provide mediation services. Not probably on a smaller scale than community, like individuals, perhaps, that kind of thing. Not arbitration, nothing binding, but just, as you say, conflict resolution. And we know that we need some training in that area. We have not, as commissioners, had the opportunity to be trained, and I might find it as I look through your information, but do you provide that service?
Just basic mediation. We don't do the certification for mediation, which is like a 40-hour requirement usually in a lot of places. We don't do that. What we do offer, and we're finalizing, it should be final spring of 2020, is a facilitating multi-party conflicts. So in some ways, it almost prepares you to be kind of like one of us, where you can go into any community and facilitate a conflict. So it does include a conflict resolution 101, but as well as kind of like how you bring different parties together. So it's kind of like a variation on the basic mediation 101, because the mediation, that one, I think you're referring to like neighbor. Is that what you're?
Yes.
That's what I saw in the website, I think. Yeah. So it wouldn't be appropriate for that kind of purpose, since you're kind of dealing almost with slightly different, topics. We work with that training will be more for larger groups.
I see.
So it could be some of the issues I was hearing at the beginning, where you need to bring in different parties, and you're talking with multiple people, representing multiple, not just like, hey, your dog's barking. It's
Right.
But yeah, different universities do offer those in law schools. I just don't know who offers it here in Palm Springs.
Okay, thank you.
So lastly, I would say I'll look forward to maybe following up with some of you all and see if there are areas where we can support you more. But please feel free to do the reverse. If you already kind of have an idea where you think we might be of service, please do not hesitate to contact us, because we're here, but we do rely on you to call us in some ways. Since we have a lot of territory, we go where we're needed. So if there are opportunities, and there may be things that don't hit the news, so if there are some concerns in the community about the police, then we can maybe perhaps help out and talk to the police department and see how we can help them. Maybe there's an opportunity to do more in-depth dialogue work, or smaller focus groups to kind of assist with any concerns that might exist.
And what does that look like? So specifically on the race relations with the police department and a neighborhood. So what does that look like when you come to the table?
So, for example, there two things. So there's one that's already finished. It's a product. It's a race. It's a dialogue. It's a community dialogue, and you can pull that up, I believe, on our website. It allows people to talk about race relations, as well as just any human relation issues. So we actually changed the name to the community dialogue to kind of encompass other areas, not just race relations. So that one is I believe on the website. You can pull it up. It's like a booklet. And in terms of the second option, really it can be custom in a sense if you're willing to sort of take it on and we kind of help you build it. then really there's a lot of options. I'll give you an example. We were just, last year we were in a community after an officer-involved shooting, and we did focus groups in all the police districts, and we used questions that we threw up on the board. But actually before that, we called every single person who signed up. And the way people signed up is like at the city level, the city announced that we would be having these police dialogues, focus groups, large focus groups, about 12 to maybe say 22 people per group. And people would sign up, put in their address. So based on their address, they would be put into a different, pocket. And also based on like who do they represent? We want to make sure that we didn't have over-representation of a single kind of group. So to assure diversity, we asked them like, do you represent the faith community, education, or whatever? But it turned out to be pretty good. We didn't go over. We didn't have an excess number of people, so we didn't have to turn anybody down. But so we had all these. We had 6 groups, and then in each group we asked them what's going well. What do you like about law enforcement? And then what's not working so well. And during the phone calls. And then with the phone calls, the kinds of responses we got, we fine-tuned the questions that we would ask them in person. And we had set dates. So then they came to the actual in-person meetings. During the in-person meetings, it was a little bit more, we separated those 2 questions into, it was a little bit more detailed. So the first question was, well, what do you like about the police? The most common answers were on the multiple choice, so they could use the clickers to provide an answer. But then the next question was really not about the police; it was about the neighborhood. It's like, what is the issue impacting your community the most? And there tended to be homelessness and mental health issues in those particular areas. And the third one was, okay, now insofar as the police, what's not working so well? It turned out to be tactics they were most concerned about, and then we kind of went a little bit deeper in terms of policy, what policies are of most concern, and it ended up being those associated with tactics, and what kind of training do you want for them. Also kind of, the answer was kind of tactics, but after each question, after you see the answer, what happens is we allow them to debrief. So they actually talk amongst themselves, and we kind of facilitate the conversation so that when they say the issue that concerns them most is, say, tactics, they can elaborate on that answer and sort of explain it. And we'll take down those notes so that at the end, the report included not just the multiple choice answers, but some of the comments that they made when they elaborated on those responses. And then we also wanted to make sure they did talk about race relations. So we asked them, like, do you think shootings of unarmed black men across the country are, I forgot the exact words we used, like, is it like a systemic problem, or is it just because there was one really bad cop? And then you could see the answers. The overwhelming majority of the people said, no, I think there's a systemic issue going on. And the question is, okay, tell us more about that. And they got to sort of share, their perspectives. You had different perspectives in the room. Some people, even said, that doesn't really affect me. And I get it. It's because, I'm white and I am a business owner. So I kind of see it differently. So they had an opportunity to talk and kind of see each other's perspective, which is kind of part of also what we were trying to do, is get people talking amongst each other across different, perspectives, but also kind of come back to, okay, let's see, what the perspective actually is and, how it breaks down. So we asked them different questions like that, where we got to make sure they wouldn't avoid the question of race relations. And they had a nice, productive conversation on the topic. And then towards the end, really, it's asking them, like, who's missing in the room and what perspective is the one that's missing in the room in case they're not there. And they would, say, okay, I think it's this. And then it's just a summary and bringing it back to law enforcement in the city. And it's kind of up to them in some ways to kind of provide those next steps. We can provide some thoughts, some ideas, but the report is really more of a summary of what the community said. It doesn't have an analysis because as an impartial agency, we can't really give you a recommendation, unlike the Civil Rights Division or any other division of government where they're in there to investigate. We can't give that to you. But we can, talk about some options, things that other people have done, but at least that kind of engagement is really more about an in-depth inquiry to try and figure out what the different perspectives are while at the same time giving people in the room an opportunity to talk among themselves. But the program before that I mentioned, that one is just simply a dialogue. So they're really talking about, they're talking with each other, but they do get asked, like, what kind of community do you want to be in the future and how do we get there? What are the steps we need to take? So it does include those questions as well. But in a planning group type of environment, we would sit down with you to kind of help you design it based on what you want to accomplish so that the questions can be custom. And if you take ownership of it, then we could come up with all sorts of questions. You could provide recommendations, but we can't. We could just simply be sort of giving you some technical expertise behind it and, write questions for you. What do you think about this question? Do you like that? And give you feedback. Well, if you ask this, it might cause problems or, so we can help you do your own.
Yeah. Excellent. Very good. Thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Well, very good. We appreciate it. Thank you again. Thank you. Hopefully it will not be 8 years before you're back at the table. Thank you. All right, so now we are back on to item 10, agenda items for the next meeting, which will be December 9. Any items that we need to add to the next agenda?
Well, I want to give an update on the film project, but I guess that could be reported under the committee.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay.
And the executive committee will meet, and if we have anything come out of there, we will share that with Jay so we can get it added.
You've mentioned inviting school board district members. Would that be at the meeting?
Yes. So I'll issue an invitation so we can get that taken care of. Did you have anything else? Okay. All right. Well, if we don't have any other items for the next meeting, we will move into adjournment at 3:58. The commission will adjourn to an adjourned regular meeting Monday, December 9, 2019, 3 p.m. in the large conference room here at City Hall. Thank you all very much.